Russia is obliged to return Ukrainian children. This demand was repeatedly set by members of the Ukrainian delegation at the 78th session of the UN General Assembly. The Kremlin is demonstratively undermining the system of international law, and international organizations are not responding to this effectively enough, representatives of Kyiv believe. For example, 14-year-old Veronika Vlasova was able to return home only thanks to a separate speech at the UN Security Council. In order to return at least those children who have been identified, and there are 20,000 of them, it is necessary to urgently move on to systematic work.
Ukraine cannot hold 20,000 meetings and tell specific stories 20,000 times. We need results. They are unprotected. They are interrogated, tortured, subjected to psychological pressure, and separated from their families. But we, as a civilized democratic world, cannot change anything. Dmytro Lubinets, commissioner of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine for Human Rights, from a speech at the 78th session of the UN General Assembly.
One of the organizers of the mass deportation of young Ukrainians from the territories temporarily occupied by Russia, the Presidential Commissioner for Children's Rights of Russia, Maria Lvova-Belova, announced that 700,000 children were deported. Kyiv suggests that these figures are inflated, although it emphasizes that we are talking about hundreds of thousands of cases. The First Lady of Ukraine, Olena Zelenska, called on UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres to help bring the children home.
They were told that their parents didn't need them, that no one needs them, they are not needed by their country, that no one is looking for them. The kidnapped children were told that they were no longer children of Ukraine, but children of Russia, that Ukraine never existed and never will, that it's part of Russia, that they should love Russia and not their homeland.
In June, the UN added the Russian army to the list of shame, a special document that includes armed groups guilty of crimes against children. It is the basis for the introduction of international sanctions by the UN. This is the first time in history that the army of a country that is a permanent member of the Security Council is included in the list of shame. At the same time, the UN Commission refuses to call Russia's actions in Ukraine genocide, although the Geneva Conventions clearly spell out its characteristics. One of them is the forcible transfer of children from one group to another. According to lawyers, international organizations are simply trying to avoid responsibility for their own inaction.
Now, for international organizations to admit that they, in fact, sometimes simply didn't prevent the crime of genocide is not just reputationally bad, it's even dangerous. Because due to the fact that the convention is about the crime of genocide, it also provides for liability for failure to prevent genocide. And this is a responsibility for all state parties to the convention. This is also a question of their legal liability. Therefore, of course, they are not ready to recognize genocide now.
Ukraine is using all methods available to it in searching for and identifying Ukrainian children abducted by Russia, but their return requires the efforts of the international community. Tightening sanctions, pressure and additional military assistance to the armed forces of Ukraine may force the Kremlin to return the children.
The faster Ukraine wins, the faster we can protect our Ukrainian children. Of course, we try to use all methods. These include IT technologies, various technologies for monitoring social networks and communication with civil society, and support for the non-state, the public sector in Ukraine and abroad, in order to quickly find the Ukrainian children.
It was possible to return 386 children to Ukraine. Earlier, Dutch Foreign Minister Hanke Bruins-Slot said that Amsterdam will transfer DNA tests to Kyiv to help identify Ukrainian children who were illegally deported by Russia. Reported by Serhiy Kulas, Danilo Kobza, UATV News.